Troy loses. The Cajuns win. South Alabama and Coastal Carolina managed to play 3 games in 1. It's not called the Fun Belt for nothing, folks. Let's talk about it next. Locked on Sun Belt.
You are Locked on Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked on Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All right, ULM and everybody in northern Louisiana dealing with much more than a delayed basketball game. We'll get to that. South Alabama survives against Coastal Carolina, and we'll get to JMU here momentarily. We'll get back to some more baseball previewing, probably going to do one this weekend, and then that'll be 4, and I have 4 more lined up, 3 in the can, 1 more scheduled. That's 8 out of 14. We'll see. Maybe we get some more coaches this weekend if they have a shot. I happen to have an off weekend. That does not happen very often. All right. This was a crazy night in the Sun Belt, literally. All right. Troy, doesn't lose, and they don't lose at home. The Cajuns don't win, and they're playing against Georgia State, who's one of the hotter teams in the conference. South Alabama scored 15 points in the first half, had 31 7 minutes into the second half. So it was a crazy night. But first, you got to start off with the best team, and the best team went down, never having the lead at home in the second half. They did lead in the first half a little bit, but not in the second half. James Madison takes down Troy 73-64. James Madison actually had an 11-point lead with about 6.5 minutes to go. That was down to 4 with 4 minutes left to go. And it kind of felt like Troy kind of panicked. For the first time this year, it kind of felt like Troy panicked. They did miss a free throw on an and 1 that would have made a 5-point game 2. All right. But James Madison kept on hitting shots was the other thing. But it felt like they were taking deep threes, not moving the ball, settling. The first time this year that I've seen Troy panic just a little bit. And all kudos goes to James Madison. Winning on the road is impressive. Beating Troy is that much more impressive. Cliff Davis led the way with 23 points, 8 out of 15, 5 out of 11 from 3. He also had 4 rebounds. Christian Brown had 13 rebounds, only scored 4 points though, but a lot of rebounds. Bradley Douglas, 14 points off the bench, and Eddie Ricks had 12 points and 10 rebounds off the bench. So, again, kudos to JMU. But some of these statistics some are close and some are not. Shooting-wise, JMU shot 48% to Troy's 36%, which is interesting. 26 out of 54 to 22 out of 61. All right? Did I say that right? 26 out of 54, 22 out of 61. Okay. 3-point field goals, JMU shot it better, but they both made 8 3-pointers, all right? And free throws were basically the same. JMU made 1 more. JMU had 13 turnovers, but they dominated on the boards, which does not happen to Troy either. Total rebounds, 45-33, all right? Points in the paint, basically the difference in the game, 36-28. And again, this just doesn't happen to Troy. Now, here is the one thing that you start to go look back on. I don't know if you can say ran out of gas a little bit, but they've had some close ball games, right, that they could have very easily lost, and they have found ways to win. All right, they very easily could have lost to Georgia Southern. They were winning that whole ball game, and Georgia Southern took a lead late, and Troy goes on to score 6 straight points. They very easily could have lost to Old Dominion. And they did not. So they got away with a couple of games after a few blowouts that it looked like they had worked things out after a tough loss at Arkansas State. But this was a great job by JMU and not such a great job by Troy, but I think that's because of JMU. JMU kept on making shots and not allowing Troy to get back in the ball game when Troy would miss a shot. So again, it was, where's it? It's an 11-point lead, 58-47 with 6.5 minutes to go, 6:23. Then it's 58-54, 4:07 left to go. So they've scored 7 straight points. Victor Valdez did it with an and one. All right. But Gabe Newhoff with a layup. Kobe Campbell made a 3-pointer, making it 60-57. A couple of free throws by Newhoff made it 62-57. Valdez made it a layup and had an and one, but he missed the free throw. So it's 62-59. Then Bradley Douglas hits a 3-pointer at the top of the key. Christian Brown with the layup. And all of a sudden, the 3-point game went to 8-point game, and that was your ball game. All right. And again, a good job by JMU, because remember, this season was going in the wrong direction for the Dukes in an embarrassing way as a team that just went to the NCAA tournament just a couple years ago. They're still 11-11 and 4-6 in the conference, but they had lost 3 in a row. They got beat by 15 by App State. They lost to 5 at Marshall, and they lost to South Alabama 90-83. All right. They did beat Texas State. That sort of came out of nowhere and blew them out 82-57. And now they've taken care of Troy. So again, you never know what's going to get your confidence up, and maybe a 25-point win against Texas State does it. And they go into Troy. I don't know if we could find out what that line was, because there's no way that game was going to be less than they don't show that on. Oh, yes, they do. It was an 8.5-point spread. In fact, it opened up at 8.5, went to 9.5. If you had James Madison plus 380 on the money line, maybe JMU can turn things around. They got a ways to go to try and get a top 4 seed. We'll go into the standings here a little bit later, but that's a nice win by JMU. And maybe just a reassessment by Troy. I want to give JMU as much credit as possible. I'm just telling you, from my point of view, it seemed Troy kind of rushed some things at the end when they didn't really need to. When after Douglas hit that 3, they kind of settled a little bit, right? They kind of did, as far as I'm concerned. As far as Troy goes, in terms of their guys, they had okay games. Victor Valdez, 16 points, 5 assists, but he had 5 turnovers, 4 rebounds. Thomas Dowd, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. Very solid. The Campbell brothers combined for 18 points, although they just shot it 6 for 22. So that's not going to get it done. And usually Troy does a better job at the line. Not only did they not shoot it well, 12 out of 18, they only shot 18 free throws. Usually they're like 18 out of 25, something along those lines. So JMU does defeat Troy, an impressive win in Alabama. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll get to the rest of the ball games, and we'll talk about ULM trying to get through what has been the winter storm has hit northern Louisiana hard. All right. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about South Alabama surviving, and boy, did they ever. Do that after I tell you about FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, one final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. One final time where everybody can pick against the Patriots. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Okay, so South Alabama and Coastal Carolina. South Alabama hangs on to win this ball game 53-48. And this was 3 games in 1. Usually you hear, what's a tale of 2 halves? The second half had 2 halves to it. So this is a ugly first half for both teams. Ugly, to say the least. South Alabama wins this ball game 53-48. They trailed at half 24-15. All right. They took a lead with 13:08, 13:09 to go, 31-27. They scored more points in less than 7 minutes in the second half than they did in 20 minutes in the first half. Then they built it up to what I believe was an 11-point lead. In fact, it may have been more. Let me see here. It was 12 points. Sorry, 7 minutes to go, 45-33. With 7 minutes to go. And at that point in time, 12 minutes in, or 13 minutes into the second half, Coastal Carolina has scored 9 points. And getting blown out. And this is going to end poorly for Coastal Carolina. They tied the ball game up 48. They went on a incredible run, right? They went on a 15-3 run while South Alabama was trying to run out the clock. And they couldn't do it. I don't think they had a shot. Actually, I think they did have a shot to maybe not. I thought they had a shot to take the lead, but Adam Olsen made a jumper, about a 12-footer, 50-48. And again, Coastal Carolina, when they're going for 3 late, you're down, you try to win it, try to take the lead. They didn't make it, and Adam Olsen made 2 free throws. So that's 3 games in 1. 24-15 Coastal, right? In the first half. Then what did I say? 45-33 South Alabama, 48 all, and then South Alabama wins it 53-48. That's 3 games in 1. That's a crazy basketball game, and South Alabama manages to win it. They do win a lot of close ball games, all right? Should go back and mention, here's the problem. Again, we've been talking with these baseball coaches on how you can have a really good season all season long and not have one bad weekend. That's what, that if I'm Scott Cross, that's what I would use with Troy. If we play all season long and lay an egg in Pensacola, I don't want to say it's a wasted season, but it's going to be incredibly disappointing. All right. Now, I wouldn't say lay an egg because maybe that's the wrong way of putting it, depending on who you're playing, because you very well could be playing a top 4 seed. All right. But if you lose because you didn't play well, then it's going to be very disappointing. All right. Anyways, so Troy loses. South Alabama survives. And the Cajuns with a win, 82-72. Didn't see that one coming. All right. Wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, if they were favored. But Georgia State has been playing so well lately. That's the only thing. Georgia State has been the one that has been playing well compared to the Cajuns, although for the Cajuns, they've won 2 out of their last 3 now with that win over Georgia State. Do we have what the line was? Georgia State was actually favored by 1.5. Georgia State came in as the hot team, and they could not slow down the Cajuns. The Cajuns scored 82. That's got to be a season high for the Cajuns. They have not scored 82 this year. Yeah. Remember, we said Marshall scored 65 in the first half when they hit 26 threes. In that ball game, the Cajuns have scored 65 points 5 times. I'm wrong. They did score. They scored 85 against Monroe. They scored 85 points against Monroe. All right. What did they do the first time? They beat Monroe twice. 76, 62. 85 is a season high. 85, 79. Even in the ball game they lost to Troy, they scored 70 points. But they don't score a lot of points. All right. Let's see what it says. See if we can find out their stats, what they average. I'd be shocked if they average 65 points. In fact, they average 60.1 points a game. 60. They average over 60 points a game. They scored 46 in the first half against Georgia State. This was probably, I'm going to say, the best game they've played all season. They led Georgia State 46-28. Georgia State made this a ball game, and the Cajuns could have folded. It got down to 5 points. 60 at one point in time, the Cajuns led this game 60-45, and then it was 65-60. So they got it down to 5. They never got it closer than that, I don't believe. All right, so that's a nice win for the Cajuns. They have 6 wins. They need one more win to avoid what I think may be the worst season in Cajuns history. And that's a tough loss for Georgia State because for the time being, they were in second place, not any longer. And the Cajuns don't probably have one of their best players isn't it Joshua Lewis? He's out for the year. Jackson Oliveira in the starting lineup. He had 10 points. De'Vion Lavergne had 23 on 8 of 13 shooting. Outstanding. I mean, they were very good from the free throw line, 17 out of 21. Dorian Finster had 18 points. I mean, the Cajuns shot 50%. They were 9 out of 18 from the three-point land. Georgia State was not. Georgia State shot 31% from the floor, 23% from 3, and actually shot a ton of free throws, keeping them in the ballgame, 33 out of 35. But the Cajuns do get a win. They go to 6-16, 4-6 in the Sun Belt. Georgia State 9-13, 6-4 in the Sun Belt. The other ball game that was played on Thursday was App State. Just can't figure out App State. They go into Southern Miss 70-63. That's a nice win on the road for App State. Kind of a roller coaster of a year. Feels like since the betting scandal kind of hit, and it's not a current player, right? A former player, Mo Arnold, recent player. I mean, has Southern Miss won? Because they feel like they've skidded here in a minute. That's the thing. Let's see here. They have gone in the opposite direction. I thought they were pretty good, and they have lost 5 in a row. They lost to Troy. Okay. Losing at Texas State, not great. Lost at Georgia State, lost at Coastal, and lost App State. After having won 4 in a row, 2 of those Monroe, one of them the Cajuns. So maybe that was a little, false hope, I guess, because 3 of those wins are against really bad teams. But then, they lost to Texas State. That's really the only bad team they lost to. Georgia State doesn't have a great record, but they've been playing much better. So, yeah, Southern Miss seems to be going into the tank. App State seems to be, you don't know which App State you're going to get. Basically, they score about 70 points a game. And if they can hold the opponent to less than that, they win. And if they don't score 70 points a game, it's tough for App State to win a ball game. All right, so quickly going over the standings in the Sun Belt, and these are current. All right, Troy is 8-2, South Alabama 6-3. All right, I remember South Alabama and Marshall have a game to make up. So App State is right behind South Alabama. They actually have played 2 more games than South Alabama. They're 7-4. Georgia State drops to 6-4. Marshall is 5-4. Georgia Southern is 5-4. Coastal Carolina is 6-5. Arkansas State drops to 5-5. Texas State 5-6. Southern Miss 5-6. JMU 4-6. Old Dominion 4-6. The Cajuns 4-6. Monroe is 0-9. Probably should mention couple of ball games from Wednesday night, and Arkansas State seems to be going in the wrong direction, and that's kind of odd, especially playing at home. Old Dominion takes down Arkansas State 75-71, and Marshall with a tough loss. Texas State with a nice win beats Marshall 72-68. So a couple of close ball games, although I'm not sure Arkansas State led it much in the second half. All right. So that's where we are currently. All right. One game that was supposed to be played on Thursday is now being played on Friday, and it has been a harrowing week or so for the ULM Warhawks. We'll talk about that next after I tell you about Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. We're going to go with the JMU Dukes. They were almost 10-point underdogs. They go into Troy. They take down the best team in the Sun Belt, 73-64, led by Cliff Davis's 23 points. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it the extra fire, the grit, and I never quit. We put the same passion in every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. As we know, most of it feels like half of the country has been dealing with a winter storm since basically Friday, maybe into Saturday. All right, here we did not get it nearly as bad as we thought, although it has been cold, and Louisville lacks plows. So all the main roads are plowed, but the side streets are not. All right, it is what it is. However, that is nothing compared to what's been going on in Mississippi and in northern Louisiana. ULM had apparently a harrowing ride home. Let me see when that was. That was last week. I think that was it Wednesday or Thursday? It was Thursday. They were playing Marshall. That was Thursday afternoon. And they already decided they weren't going to play the next ball game. I think, right? They didn't play the next ball game. No, they didn't play. Oh, did they play on? Hold on. I'm sorry. Did they play Friday? They did play Friday. They played App State. So they're trying to get home from Boone, North Carolina to App State. All right. And they lost both those ball games. So it's a little bit of a long way home. And apparently, the new AD, SJ Tui, and everybody trying to get to multiple flights, multiple bus rides, right? And they're going into the teeth of the storm, all right? It hadn't started here in Louisville until late Saturday afternoon, or middle of the day Saturday afternoon. But south of us, it hit. Nashville is in a bad way right now. And somehow they got the guys got back. I believe they got back late Saturday. All right. So good to have them back. Problem is, I don't think anybody's got any water or electricity. And so I saw, for example, in Nashville, I don't think Mark Byington, the former JMU coach, has any water or electricity. He's sleeping in his office. They do. All right. And apparently on campus at Monroe, the some of the athletic facilities have water and electricity. So they're feeding the kids there. Georgia Southern agreed to push the date back for Friday's game. I don't know if that means Georgia Southern is playing Friday and Saturday. I guess it probably does. Yeah, Georgia Southern's going to play Monroe Friday. Let me see what time that game is at. They're going to play Monroe Friday at 3 p.m. and then the Cajuns on Saturday at 4 p.m. All right. Tough spot for Georgia Southern, but obviously a much tougher spot for Monroe. All right. And I don't know if people will make it to the game. It's in the middle of the day. Maybe a nice distraction. Probably going to have some food and water that people can get. Again, we are not dealing with it nearly as badly as everybody else is. And yet there was nobody on the roads this morning. Went back to work for the first time in 5 days. Now, where the distillery is and, in those small towns, it's all ice. All right. So again, in Louisville, we did not get it as bad as others have been. And we're wishing everybody all the best in Monroe. And maybe, a 2-hour distraction. It would be nice if Monroe could get their first Sun Belt win, all right, and kind of lift the spirits up of the town, because Georgia Southern hasn't been playing all that well either. All right, that's the thing. Georgia Southern's kind of gone into the tank like Arkansas State has, and I don't understand it. It's something I just did not see coming. Remember, Georgia Southern had a 9-game winning streak. They proceeded to lose 4 out of 5. And they could have lost to Old Dominion. They could have had a 5-game losing streak. So we'll see if they can turn things around, right? I mean, let's be honest, if you're Georgia Southern, you're looking at should be 2 wins. Although, if you were watching I'm sure they were watching the Cajuns game as much as they could last night, just to see what's coming up. And they're like, where'd that team come from, right? That team just put up over 80 points, usually scores 60. They are offensively challenged. And yet, now you're like, oh, goodness, they've changed some things. To begin with, Olvera is not coming off the bench anymore. He's starting, among other things. All right, we'll see if Lavergne can shoot that way 2 games in a row. But rules have changed. It is one injured Cajuns team. But we are wishing all of Monroe, our thoughts are with you. If there is a way that people are setting up charitable donations, please let me know, and I'm happy to pass that information along. All right, that is something we'd love to be able to do, because when the time comes, everybody helps. All right, I know, like, I guess it was in 24, right? When App State had the hurricane land on them, and they're going to host Liberty, and everybody in the Sun Belt helped out. All right. Even heated rivals helped out the people of lovely Boone, North Carolina. And I know everybody would like to return the favor to the people of Monroe if they can get it. Kind of tough when you don't, trying to stay warm in 30-degree weather, if you're lucky, if it's that warm, with no heat and no water is a rough go of it. So if there is a way that we can help, please let me know, and I'm happy to pass it along. All right. We try to, again, provide a 30-minute, distraction in your day. If you're working out, taking the dog for a walk, on the way to work, usually positive, try to have fun at my expense. And we're having fun with the baseball coaches. Absolutely. It's nice to have all those baseball coaches. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be the first to tell you, because I don't want to be writing down when they're talking. So I'm going to go back and listen to all of the podcasts to write down the players that all these guys like. So if someone does excel, they mention them. Also, if someone not doesn't excel but gets hurt, then we know that as well. All right, so we're going to keep track of that. And again, we'll have more this weekend. We'll put another one up probably on a Sunday. All right, we'll do that. Then we'll recap the Saturday action, or maybe we could do one on Saturday and recap the Saturday action on Monday. And then I got 4 more to go. So we'll do that all next week. And again, we'll see if we can get some more coaches this weekend. All right. While they are wrapping up, I'm sure not playing a little bit. And of course, some of these coaches are dealing with the weather as well. So they need to, if they're a day or two behind, they got to catch up. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It was a crazy night in the Sun Belt. That's for sure. Again, Troy, you could have made a little bit on that one on FanDuel. Troy losing and the Cajuns winning. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to Locked on Sunbelt on YouTube. Really do appreciate it. We will be back with you again on, probably Sunday with one of the baseball previews, and then certainly on Monday with a wrap-up of the college basketball weekend. All right? You've been watching Locked on Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great weekend, everybody.